Hey y'all, it's Asha Sarish, your favorite life coach, content strategist, and event curator. And we back with another review. We're reviewing Love is Blind season 7, so spoiler alert, we're on to the next couple. So next up we have Nick and Hannah. And out of the series so far, this will be the one couple that I do not feel too confident about. And it's been an emotional roller coaster for us all. So let's just get into it. Hannah was one of the youngest participants. I believe she was the youngest participant. She actually quit her job to go on this journey because she felt that strongly about finding love. So during the taping, she was 26, but she's 27 now. She's a medical device sales rep. She's an Aquarius. And it says, depending on who you ask, Hannah's lack of filter is either a blessing or a curse when it comes to her dating life. She says she's a very honest person. It comes off rude and heartless at times, but she's just looking out for others' best interests and she really has a kind heart. After 3 years of being single, this self proclaimed country girl is ready to kick her dating life into full gear and finally let someone else take control. This is from Netflix.com. Some of the things that I picked up just from watching is she says she used to be a cheerleader in high school. She's used to dating jocks, like big, athletic built, tall, big uh, football player type guys. She did have a few insecurities about her weight. She said that when she was younger, her mom, I believe it was, locked up all the snacks. She said she gained a lot of weight during the pandemic and she lost like 45 pounds the year prior to taping. And I'm going to have to get into more details about her in a second. Nick was actually the youngest guy on the cast. At the time of filming, he was 28. He's 29 now. He's a real estate agent and an Aquarius. He's a former All American college football player, and he retired his cleats when his dreams of playing in the NFL came to an end. After building a stable real estate career and investing in his own happiness, he set his eyes on a new goal. Um, it says, "I'm the perfect version of myself right now, and the next step in this journey is to find a perfect wife." Perfect wife. So Nick was kind of known as the suave, charming, gift of the gab type guy. He was very outgoing, and none of the women in the house really took him seriously. Let's get into more. So initially, Hannah had two really strong connections, and Nick has pretty much been set on her. Like he has some decent connections, like people that he had things in common with, great conversations in the beginning, but ultimately Hannah was his number one and only connection that he was really focusing on. Hannah had another connection with this guy Leo, and Leo had a connection with Brittany, but we'll talk more about them in a minute. So in the beginning, Hannah was really liking Nick. Like she was a little into the whole charismatic, big personality. He had game, he had riz, as the kids like to say, and she was feeling it. But she allowed the other ladies of the cast to get in her head and basically convince her that he wasn't anyone to be taken seriously. They like, you need to break this off. They was all in her ear. And you know what I was yelling at the TV saying? Don't let them talk you out of your man, because I just felt like they were getting too much into her business. Like I get wanting to have the sisterhood and, warning her she's little sis of the house and making sure that she's cautious. But at that point, I really felt like let her make her own decisions based on what her and this man have in common. Like you're not in the pods with them. You don't know what they're talking about, what type of energy they're sharing, what type of vulnerability he's giving her that he might not be giving you. So I just felt like they were overstepping their boundaries a little bit. Like it went from just like giving advice of be cautious and don't let him play you or don't fall for the okey doke to you need to cut it off. And I felt like she let them get into her head, and guess what she did? She cut him off. She broke it off with him, and I was kind of sad. So she broke it off with him, and she decided to focus more on Leo. But soon after she did that, Brittany walked in the house, and she mistakenly was just so on cloud nine from her date with Leo that she said his name out loud. And I don't know if they have an unspoken rule or a real rule in the house to kind of not really get into who they're dating in the initial stages. So nobody will have like a conflict of interest or it won't be awkward. But she accidentally said Leo's name. And once she said that, it almost made Hannah start second guessing um, if she made the right decision because she did really like Nick. And I don't know if she felt sized up because of Brittany and appearance wise or whatever that made her kind of feel a little insecure about whether or not her connection with Leo was as strong. Who knows? So then Hannah decided that she wanted to give it another chance with Nick because she did realize that she let people influence her a little bit too much. So she did. She decided to ask Nick for another meetup, another date in the pods, and they decided to continue on getting to know each other. And honestly, I really liked their connection when they were in the pods. I felt like they had a lot in common. You know, they're both the young ones. I feel like they were both um, able to be themselves and it seemed to be like a good match, in my opinion. She was very, I feel like she started to self sabotage when it comes to both of her connections, but mainly with Nick. She started to self sabotage because of her own insecurities about her weight and her looks. She felt like this man was going to be this big old athletic jock because he talked about how he was a kicker and a punter and all American football player. So she felt like, clearly you don't have any trouble getting a woman in real life. So maybe when you see me, I might not be your typical, petite, athletic built type of woman that you normally would go for or whatever. She was saying it without saying it. So I felt like she started to self sabotage already. But it ended up going down. And I might have to make two videos just for this dynamic of four people. But ultimately, she ended up choosing Nick. And I'm going to just stick with the format that I've been going in and then we'll talk about the four. But she ended up going with Nick. I don't feel like the physical connection translated from the emotional connection. I feel like the whole time she felt like he was going to be the one that didn't like her appearance. And so she started to self sabotage, but she didn't really like his. And you could tell by her body language, her facial expression, her energy, and all of that when she met him. She is a tall woman and she's not petite, like she's not fat, if for lack of a better term, she's not fat, but she's a bigger statured woman and she's tall. So she's like 5'9" without heels, I think. So with heels, she's probably like 6 feet. And I think he said he was 5'11". She said she doesn't think he was telling the truth. So let's say he's 5'10". Let's say he's 5'10" and a half. He's not as big and, muscular as she thought he was going to be. And you could tell that she was a little disappointed. She didn't really like that she was technically bigger than him wearing her heels. Um, and I feel like she felt like she got gypped. um, and it showed. She couldn't help it. And there was a little bit of awkwardness in their first meeting. She was very standoffish. Her body language was leaning back. She was trying to hide her facial expression. Usually, when they go their separate ways before the trip to Mexico, and they're walking back to their side of the room, and they go behind the doors, they usually look back and they're laughing and smiling and blowing kisses and staring at each other. That woman just walked straight in that door and did not turn around. And when they closed the door, she was looking like, this ain't that. But when they got to Mexico, they started to have some more connection. Seemed like she started to be attracted to him. He's been pretty good with his attraction or whatever towards her, even though I could tell she's not his typical type. But then some insecurities and jealousy is already coming out. He engaged with another woman just on some friendly stuff. She felt like he was being too friendly and he was being disrespectful. And a lot of her insecurities are starting to come out, which I feel like is going to be a big problem. I don't foresee this working out long term, but we'll see. Let's stay tuned. What do you think?